Blog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yahowah.com.
That introduction brings a smile, doesn't it?
It does.
I get to watch it multiple times. To have our cast of characters there and in avatar form, it really tells a fun story. I'm glad.
She put me in white pants, right?
She did. She put you in
white pants.
Can you imagine you in white pants and a fancy hat?
No, it's white pants. That never. They wouldn't be white for more than 3 minutes.
Oh well.
I'm dirty. I'm just dirty.
You just need to go talk to the stylist. That is the way it is. File your complaint with. I actually filed a complaint with the stylist this morning, and I was lucky. I lucky she wasn't in the kitchen with a butcher knife at the time. But at the keyboard, you probably already heard that we had
I got a message about it. Yep.
Yeah, we had a disagreement. In fact, we're gonna play it, and so you'll get to see that. I think it's a really wonderful, cute piece, a marvelous introduction piece. I just don't think it worked for our site, but I'm going to play it, and if I'm wrong, so be it. We'll have others get to contribute their thoughts to it. I happen to like the format of this introduction, and I thought that was the direction we were going. All right, so let's play this first clip, and we'll talk about it a little bit. I don't know if there's sound. We're certainly not getting any sound, but I'll talk over it.
Okay.
This is, of course, Macron and Jolani. And Macron went to
خلينا نعيش مكرون والشعر قلب واحد نضحك ونمزح وما في مشاكل سوريا وفرنسا أحلى قصة بالعالم في الساونا نعرق ونضحك مع بعض على الروف نتوست ونحكي كل شيء من باريس لدمشق الطريق مفتوح
Oh boy, is there ever a truth to that one. Macron and Jolani, they had a meeting, I think it was in Damascus, where Macron, prior to the NATO summit, flew in to have a love fest with the ISIS leader, former Al-Qaeda, then migrated to Al-Nusra Front, and then finally the Islamic State in Syria, which is ISIS. And they were just having a love fest. And so my question is, how did the Donald, who is part of this love triangle, how did he allow them, to go off and escape without him? Maybe they're just too old for him now. I don't know. But Donald's got it bad for Jolani. I mean, he handsome, great man, tremendous fighter, extremely attractive. Yes, even gave him, had the White House treated him like he was a son, gave him parting gifts like cologne, so that their next date, he would smell in a way that was pleasing to the Donald. So it is quite the love triangle with these guys swooning over not only a ruthless Islamic terrorist, but this was a ruthless Islamic terrorist that rounded up Yazidi girls and turned them into sex slaves. And those who didn't want to be gang raped every day were burned alive in cages. And the men who tried to protect them were crucified. That is who this Jolani is. And, America's CIA and the Mossad working together created the regime change they wanted. They eliminated Assad, who was a bad guy, but he was a fellow that was buying Russian weapons, and America can't stand that. America has to be the merchant of death. And so they wanted Assad gone, and they replaced Assad with Jolani, who was the head of the Islamic State in Syria. It's one of the most repulsive acts ever witnessed.
Yeah, I think it's political here. I think that there's a lot of Syrians that fled to Paris and France. During the wars and everything, that there's a significant Syrian population that
of course.
Macron may be trying to shore up
Yeah.
for
Most people don't realize, Kevin, that going back almost 20 years ago now, the CIA was involved in regime change operations all around the world. And one of the most fervent regime change operations was in Syria. And the entire purpose was nothing to do with Assad being a madman and being a ruthless dictator. The regime change in Syria was because he was buying Russian weapons. And they wanted him to be a client of the American military industrial complex. That was the single reason, and they worked tirelessly to do him in. And the way the CIA works is through proxies. So they bribed the Kurds with weapons and money. They bribed Sunni Islamic terrorist organizations with weapons and money. And the United States, through Petraeus and his awakening program in Iraq, actually created what is now the Islamic State. They armed Sunni Muslims under the pretense that they would go after al-Qaeda, but al-Qaeda was never in Iraq, and al-Qaeda is a Sunni organization, so the sensibility of that was zero. But Petraeus is never a very bright man, and he worked for Donald Trump, who was dumber still. And rather than going after anybody, even going after the Shiite militias that were terrorizing Americans in Iraq, they went after Mosul, first of all, to have their headquarters there. And they murdered tens of thousands of Yazidi men and enslaved children and raped the girls. And Baghdadi was initially the head of the awakening program, becomes the Islamic State. And then, and at the time, Jolani was operating under the name Al-Qaeda. Then he migrated, once Al-Qaeda lost its prestige, he migrated to Al-Nusra Front. And then he, after Baghdadi's death, he took control of the Islamic State in Syria. That's who he is. That's who he is.
Yeah. I've always found it fascinating. I mean, these Muslim organizations that ISIS, they were ISIS and then ISIL, they rebrand more than a damn furniture store. It's like 3 years, they're out of business, and then they rebrand it, and it's the same group of
guys. You'll recall that going back at the time that I wrote Prophet of Doom, when I was, you listened to me back in those days, that I was doing thousands and thousands of interviews on Islam. My primary message was that Al-Qaeda is simply a symptom, and that even if you were to eliminate bin Laden and completely abandon, have Al-Qaeda completely abandoned, it would make absolutely no difference. So this war to go after Al-Qaeda is useless. I even said that Al-Qaeda, just like the Islamic State, is actually a product of the United States. The United States created Al-Qaeda because the United States went to Pakistan to rent the Taliban from the Pakistani government and then armed them to butcher Russians in Afghanistan. And that was Zygmunt Brzezinski's and Jimmy Carter's scheme. And they made it very public. That was their plan. And so Al-Qaeda was the database, because they recruited Osama bin Laden to create a database of jihadists, because there weren't enough jihadists to wield the weapons they wanted deployed against the Russians in Afghanistan. So they relied and partnered with bin Laden to create the Al-Qaeda, the database of jihadists. And then, of course, they used these weapons that they brought into Afghanistan to go kill Russians. And it did have the effect. It had a major negative effect on Russia. But unfortunately, by arming Al-Qaeda, creating Al-Qaeda and arming the Taliban, it led to 9/11, and it had a devastating impact on the entire world, including America. The plan backfired. So this is the history of doing these things. And then in Syria, the same thing happened. America wanted a regime change, and they armed one Islamic terrorist organization after another to go after him. And one of the terrorist organizations they created and used was the Islamic State. So this is how America operates. It is one of the reasons, though, I've made the conclusion. It was a very bold conclusion. Low risk in one way, high risk in another, that Trump is the great betrayer, that he is the man that God warns Israel against. And of course, I made that conclusion based upon Isaiah 17 and 18, which is conclusive that Shabuw'ah will commence the time of Israel's troubles, that Israel will be eviscerated and indefensible, and that the nation that is most responsible for betraying America is an egomaniacal nation of that projects power by sea and by air around the world, busybodies telling everybody else what they need to do. And they're describing, Trump's America. And there were some 70 different adjectives that were used. Every one of them points to America. And I knew this going back, 18 years ago that I did the first translation of this. And so when Trump won the election such that he would be president at the beginning of the time of troubles, which was the Shabuw'ah 7 years before Yahweh's return with Dowd. So therefore, this past Shabuw'ah, 22 May of 2026, it became obvious that, and undeniable, that Trump is that great betrayer. And so I knew it to be true, and I made the claim immediately after Trump won the last election that this means he is the great betrayer. The risk of making that claim is he was, 78 years old then, 80 years old now, and was falling apart. And you're saying, you're now making a claim that a man that looks like he could die at any moment is going to survive until 2033 in the last stand. And it did not seem like that body would hold out. But, Satan's got some influence, and obviously he's going to do it. And of course, since that time, virtually every statement that Donald Trump made, including his speech last night, he continues to prove that not only is that conclusion true, but it's now indisputable. If you're a rational, moral person, even if you didn't know the prophecy, there'd be no way to deny it.
Yeah.
See, I'm in a nice suit here. The pretty girl, nice suit, lovely view, sunset, olive tree. Maybe you've got to have a better, relationship with the stylist if you want to get out of the white pants there, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah, love is a mini thing. All right, this is a piece that was created, and it starts off so beautifully, but it falls apart in the end, and let me tell you why. If you look at any English translation of Zechariah, particularly as you move into the 4th chapter, and it talks about the two olive trees on either side of the menorah. Well, we now know those olive trees happen to be the tree of lives and the tree of knowledge, and they represent the Gadol and the Katan Mayor, and therefore they are Dowd and Yada. And of course, they're on either side of the menorah, and it's a very important image, and one that it takes shape in the second to the last prophecy revealed. It's exceedingly important to understand. And there is a description of that positioning, and there is a word that is used that is rendered as bowl in all English translations, where you go to the actionable root. There's nothing bowl related for it, and the hovering bowl is just simply silly in the actual text. And what it actually says is that this is an important revelation that you should consider about these two olive trees, these two trees on either side of the menorah, and who those trees are and what role they play throughout time on either side of this menorah, and what is their relationship to the menorah. And so it actually speaks of it being a revelation, not a bowl. And we'll see here in the second half, it depicts a bowl. The opening of it, though, what a beautiful scene with that old olive tree and the sea in the background and the rolling hills of Israel, and beautiful sunset. The ultimate family, whether you want to call him Yada or Boaz, and whether you want to call her Leah or Ruth, the Amma. And Dowd, the Messiah, the King, the Savior, the returning Elyon, representing Almighty God. It's such a beautiful scene, and I hope that the graphic can be improved, because I think that driving home the importance of the Zechariah prophecy regarding those two trees and what they represent on either side of the menorah is one of the great symbols of prophecy. It's why the Malach that was speaking to Zechariah kept on saying to you, why don't you understand who these are? Because they're presented in Bereshith 1 and Bereshith 2 and Bereshith 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and on it goes. And so a prophet of Yahowah should know these things. Now, the fact that the prophet of Yahowah didn't know these things speaks volumes to us, because it means that God doesn't reveal all things to all people at all times. Even if you're a prophet, sometimes you got to figure it out. And sometimes, it's like a week ago when I was trying to understand the pain associated with Pesach, and God just says, oh, you figure it out. I've given you the clue. I've given you the motivation. Now you go figure it out. So I think Zechariah's not knowing was really an interesting part of that discussion. But the fact that he kept on presenting them, that's what these things are. It's one of the great, profound explanations of the opening prophecy of the Towrah, and later of the garden and the relationship of those two trees, and how later the Towrah is described as one of those two trees. And it's really interesting. Somebody whose name we don't need to mention, but they want to discredit the association of Yeshaya 11, but Yahweh cemented it by calling the Towrah, saying that he has the spirit of the Etzah, which is the comprehensive nature of the tree, of Dayath, of knowledge. And when you run an AI on Isaiah 11, it'll tell you, well, it's a messianic prophecy. Well, the Messiah is a tree, but it doesn't say anything about the tree of Chayam, which is lives, in that context. And the Mashiach is the tree of Chayam. It's the other guy, the other tree is the tree of knowledge. And so it can't be messianic. But again, you just have to be willing to think it through. And very few people are. That's why they
the
make
Mashiach
stupid statements.
Mashiach did his work. He did his job. It's up for the team to come in and clean everything up and get ready for a wedding, in the end, and deliver everything for him. Yeah.
He came through and earned his place. He manned up, Gabora'd up, and the biggest, most powerful, important moment, serving as the Pesach Gale. And then fulfilling Matzah, where he carried our guilt into Sheol. So he manned up at the right moment. It's now our job to reestablish his reputation, reacquaint the world with Yahweh's name, to represent the timeline so that it is known by people, to explain the next 7 years so that that those who are willing to listen are prepared and can capitalize on this opportunity to get off this horrid death spiral that the world is upon, and stay free of the likes of Rahab, Donald Trump. So it is our job. And when you read Isaiah 10, which is the explanation of the world that the Towrah is placed in, the most repeated term in that is kalal. And it is the term that is used so much in the story of Ruth. And we really came to having a full appreciation of it in the story of Ruth and Boaz, because it is used throughout that story. And kala is from kol, and it's a kol plus, which means all, everything. And with the ending, which in most Hebrew circumstances, when it's used as a title, tells you it's taking, in this case, all, to the full extent of all, everything and then some.
All of all.
Everything that all could ever mean is what
McGillicuddy? Yeah, the whole McGillicuddy.
Full McGillicuddy. Yeah, I'm not sure that was a McGillicuddy back then, but it's one of my favorite terms. I just like saying it. But the fact is that Kala is a finisher. So Yahowah inserts Kala as the finisher, as his closer, as one who gets the job done and doesn't shirk from the responsibility, carries it out all the way to the very end. And he uses it actually as a title, just like he uses Na'ar, this word that we explored in the Luminary series, as a title. So God's really clear about what's going to happen at that time. And it's the proof is so overwhelming that the world is experiencing the Towrah. He's been here before. He was given the 7 spirits of Yah before, because he supported Dowd in the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Makodim, and that took that was a big ask by God. That took everything it took more than a man could possibly give. So that's why it was done that way. And I'd say this job now that God has requested that we fulfill is more than any man could ever do. So that's why he provided the 7 spirits. But we're soon going to deliver the 10th and 11th chapter of Yashaya as a cohesive whole, and it is the most profoundly important, visually stimulating, mentally enlightening thing you will have ever considered. It is so enormously affirming and powerful. I've shared bits and pieces with you and with Richard here, and it's quite the treat for the mind and soul. But you'll definitely know who those 2 trees are. I can assure you of that. And the trees, by the way, make many appearances in Isaiah 10 and 11. All right, so this is it. You've already heard about it, but we're going to go ahead and broadcast it. I think this is a beautiful piece. I think it worked marvelously as an introduction. It was my conclusion that it was not right for the general introduction to the Yahowah blog, to whether it be the Luminary series or any of the other series of the Yahowah blog. That doesn't change the fact that I do think it's a beautiful presentation. I love the imagery of it. But let's play it, and I'm that way. Others can hear it, and I'm open to constructive criticism if you think that I'm wrong. I'm right and wrong.
God's name is Yahowah. His son is Dowd. His herald is Yada. I am Yahowah's. Let's get back to Yada.
Okay. It's a cute song. I like the song. My issues as an invitation to encourage people to come in and read what's available to them all free, even listen to what's all available to them all free at yadayada.com, I think is absolutely marvelous. I know people use the term podcast. We've chosen to use the term vlog and blog as opposed to podcasts, but we should stay one or the other. And since we have so much written and spoken on vlog, that'd be my preference. I don't think it's appropriate on these programs to have them introduced where, in this case, she says, I am the Amma. So the voice of the woman saying God's name is Yahweh and this is his son is a female voice. God did not pick a female voice to deliver this message. The Amma is in a support role to the role that the Choder and Nakri has been asked to play. And so the voice has to still be dominant, masculine, singular. That's how God works in this case. It is the most extraordinary woman in God's story. No one anywhere close to as important or valuable, or that works as hard, that's as noble. She is the ultimate example of what it is to be a woman and mother in God's story, to be a child of the covenant in God's story. There is no better. She has the best line ever uttered at Ruth. Where you go, I go. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. It's the best line ever uttered, and it's uttered by a woman. And her boldness as it relates to her relationship with Boaz. I am your Amma. I am the mother who will serve you. Amma both speaks of service and being a mother. And it's with the ending after mother M. It is the fullness of everything that mother and woman represents. And she is all of that. And she is the one who has been responsible for delivering the kinsman redeemer. Without her, he does not exist. And so it's an exceedingly important role. But I don't think the Yahowah blog is best introduced that way. I think we need to be very cognizant of it and celebrate it and educate people about the importance of it, because it's an essential aspect of God's story. I personally don't like that image of Dowd. The Dowd is too feminized, and the little curly hair just does not do it for me. I do not like that image of Dowd. We are always using stylistic license when we draw Dowd. We don't know what he looked like.
No idea. Yeah.
No idea. We know he was handsome, but the lie of ruddy red is no. God was saying, no, he's Adam. That's what he told us. He's all things pertaining to Adam, not ruddy red. But we just don't know. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and to say that God's chosen one, the one he loves more than anyone else, the man that he chose to refer to as King and Messiah and chosen one, our Savior, is no wimpy dude. I think that he's a man's man.
Yeah.
And the next thing is to say that I'm not crazy about. I think that jacket and the purple pants are really fun for an invitation, and I'm just fine with an invitation, and I wear some funky shirts to these programs, and that's part of the intent is to show humility, and I mean humility not in the sense of being humble, but recognizing that I'm not trying to impress you with my stature. I am, or the way that I dress. I want you to know that which you'll find in Isaiah 10, which is the chisel, should never gloat over the stonemason, and the saw cannot protest over the one who wields it. Is that swings both ways, and you need to have an appreciation that you really ought not dress to the nines in this job and put on any form of pretense. The physical that you see, the physicality that you see, is so irrelevant to God's story. In fact, the more we make the physicality irrelevant, the more effective we are going to be as communicators, because it's the soul and the words and the message that are being communicated and the mission being fulfilled that matter, not the appearance of the man or of the woman. And I think you can get up and dress it too fancy or too cute, and you begin to push the threshold on that a bit. So, I mean, those were my issues, and that's why I said no. I'm not comfortable with this. At the same time, you saw my reaction to the introduction to the blog on the blog, which, by the way, we worked on. There were three revisions of it, all of which you participated in. I love it. My hope is I'd still like to make another couple of revisions to it. One of the revisions is I'd like to have Depot back on the show, and I'd like to have him on there. And I'd like to have Mariah back on the show, and I'd like to have her as an avatar on there. I would like us to be presented as more than just one woman, and I don't want us presented as a bunch of Caucasian faces. When one of the most treasured members of our family, one of the great contributors to our family, is Depot. I feel like he is our son. I want. There's just every fiber of my body says he deserves credit. I know he's an introvert and would prefer not to have credit, but sometimes we need to do things we'd prefer not to do. And I think that Depot is just a marvelous example of a very, very gifted member of our family. So those are my only changes that I would like to see over time, but they have to be developed by participation.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved working on this. I thought it. I loved the music on it. I loved the text visuals on the front end and the back end. This would make a great intro for Leia's show. So if I can get Leia to sit in front of a camera for an hour a day, then I am the Amma, and this is the Amma's point of view. This would make a spectacular. So
it is.
I'm going to
call
agree.
Her out a little bit.
Yes,
and I understand Leia's mindset is that her role is to support her husband in this. She knows she knows that how difficult the job is that her husband has been given and how seriously he takes it. And so her mindset is, I want to support my husband in this. And so she sang a song introducing herself as in support of her husband and of her son, Dowd, and all of this. And that's a beautiful thing. And I just don't think it worked for the Yahowah vlog, but I think it would work beautifully for a Leia show.
Yeah. I love your presentation of trying to diminish physicality, and not just, I mean, physicality in all forms, because Yahowah, okay, he says you're properly attired. He says your ways are not my ways. Speaking of people outside. So I mean, Shaul was the best looking guy. He was handsome. You know what I mean? And so I get Dowd was a stout dude. I'm going to go there and say that he was probably. I mean, you don't come up with 200 Philistine foreskins and ask for them nicely. You know what I'm saying?
No, and he won 60. He prevailed in 66 defensive battles for Israel. You don't do that and swing. And he was out there leading his men on those battles, swinging a sword. Wimps don't do that. Right.
Absolutely. But I'm completely with you on the diminishing the physicality, because at the end of the day, I mean, when we get off this rock, it won't matter anymore. Won't matter. And it's I think it will and won't matter in the sense of we will be able, as energy-based beings, our soul and our neshama will be surrounded by light and energy and expanded past 3 dimensions into 7. and anywhere in that process, we will have enormous influence over a lesser dimension. So if we're taken into the fullness of time and the 4th dimension, we will have influence over things in the 3rd dimension, which means that we could conceive life, we could alter real estate, we could build something with words. And the further you go up the dimensions, the more influence you would have. And so physicality will still matter, but not as it relates to a projection of who we are. And absolutely. Yet at our discretion at any time that it suits us, and I think it will be always for the Moedim, which we'll continue to celebrate, as well as for this 1,000 years that we have on Earth, that we will have a physical presence for that time.
and but that physical presence, everyone at that point is going to have seen, for example, my soul after fulfilling Yom Teruah. God says in the 10th chapter, it rises up within those flames and becomes essentially a blazing sword to eliminate all of those who are in opposition to Yahowah, to even to me and to Dowd and to all the things that God has to say about what we are and his people. And so they're going to see what a spirit is like unleashed from a physical body. And Dowd, when he comes back in his seat of honor, and which is Keshe, which is also a full moon, is equivalent to the sun, which kind of an interesting, which is saying that the moon and the sun will be equivalent when he says that, because Keshe does mean full moon. And he's talking about it and equating it to the Shemek, that he is not going to be an average bundle of cells at that point. And
Right.
and the whole concept of God redeploying souls is that souls exist outside of three dimensions, and the physical body is something that is three-dimensional. It's easily replaceable, easily disposable, so irrelevant to the overall equation.
Yeah. We have them in the works. I got a bunch of messages and tasks this morning, so we'll have another one worked up here pretty soon.
Yeah, when I love, and very few relationships that can be this good, where she loved what she created, you loved what she created, you loved the song. I wasn't crazy about the song. You loved the visuals. I was not crazy about the visuals. I didn't like the overall messaging. I loved it for her, and I loved it for an invite to the site, and I loved it for a lot of reasons, and the thought that went behind it, I just didn't think was appropriate for an introduction to the Luminary series or the Yahowah blog. And she, rather than getting mad at me or saying, how dare you, or, you don't appreciate my hard work,
You're eating rice today?
you're going to. Yeah, Perry was our chef this morning. So, and no, she didn't. She went immediately. Say, okay.
Right.
I did not give him what he was looking for, and I went back to her and I said, I happen to love the avatars that you created for with the three of us together. We're flying through the sky, we're dancing in streams and walking along the coast. She has some of the most charming family portraits of the three of us, and she showed me like 30 of them, and they were so much fun and so just heartwarming. So I went in and I wrote what is, if you were to read it, a 18-second intro based upon those things. And it wouldn't have to be read, but it could be, just like the intro to this program. Or it could just be printed in the text, as some of the words are to this program. I wrote an 18-second intro, and I wrote a 60-second outro using the images that I had seen and explaining what they were. And I thought that's what we were going to do, and to set that to music. And we were going to have a matching set, and if you were the same kind of theme and feel as the intro to this program, using different images, but the image she's already created, and I went in and wrote what I thought would be appropriate lyrics. I even sent you a copy of them to as an intro and an outro. So that's what I was hoping for. All right, enough of that. I wasn't in the doghouse before. I'm probably in the doghouse for discussing it as part of this program, but it's what we do.
We know you can't keep a secret, so
no,
there is absolutely nothing that happens in your life that we don't know about. So.
No, I like to be. I don't. It's not that I like to be an open book. The job is to be an open book. Literally, the job is to be an open. Literally, the job is to be an open book. So if you don't like dealing with somebody that is an open book, then I'm the wrong guy to be associated with. So what are you going to do about that?
Right.
All right. Speaking of having a book opened and having skeletons come out, this is the ex-wife of the murderer in Maine. And he is clearly a misogynist, violent thug. And we're going to listen to her talk about her ex-husband, who physically abused her and was not suited to be a husband, much less a man given a gun and part of ICE. So the question I'm going to ask as you think about this, as you hear it, who is to blame? Was it ICE for hiring, arming, and deploying a thug like this? Was it Congress for funding ICE? Was it the Department of Justice for not holding ICE accountable for prior murders? Or was it the POTUS, Donald Trump, for creating a brown shirt militia for his Fourth Reich? Or perhaps all of them? This is really serious. It goes right to the heart of what America has been. Go ahead and play it.
David back in November brought up that he had accepted a job with ICE. I thought of that it was just a delusional thing because I'm used to him talking crazy, so to speak. So I said, yeah, sure you are, buddy. You know, I didn't realize that he was actually working for ICE until yesterday. And I was completely shocked because I'm like, how do you keep getting into these jobs where you're around guns all the time? I asked him what was going on. He told me that I don't need to be answering questions for anybody, that all I needed to know was that it was a justified shooting and that he did do it. And he claimed that this man had tried to run him over. And I said, I don't see that in anything. And I've watched it from all angles. All I seen is how the car was going in circle after the fact. And then he's like, well, I need you to lie about my character because this is how, like, this is what it comes down to is my character. I don't want you talking about any of the abuse in our relationship. Like, this is literally about me, actually. I told him that I was not going to lie for him, that I've waited years to speak my truth. I've been silenced long enough. And now I need to come out with everything because a man lost his life. It was abuse, not only to me, but to our daughter. And even being divorced from him, I've dealt with harassing phone calls, threats of him wanting to kill me. I believe that this man was murdered. I believe that David's mental health played a part in what happened. I think what happened was he was standing there during that operation, had a PTSD moment and hit fight or flight mode. And unfortunately, a man lost his life due to it.
It's not the only person this guy's killed.
Yeah. How are you? I stopped at the first clip when she says, how are you in a job where you're around guns? And I'm like, this is a person that knows you and is appalled that you're in a profession or a job and not just one. How are you getting these jobs? How are you around guns? You know, I was like, wow.
Piece of shit that is called POTUS gave a speech last night where I watched the first 5 minutes and just puked. It was nothing but a bunch of campaign lies where everything he said, everything was a lie. And I said, you know, I can read the summation of this tomorrow morning. I can read 7 times faster than people can speak. So I'll just read it in the morning. I can't handle this anymore. I'm just not. They don't need to be exposed to this. This is rubbish. And in the summation of it, guess what? There was no mention of his brown shirts off murdering people. Wasn't even a mention of his failed war in Iran and bringing the world to its knees economically, blowing up the Middle East. No mention of his ruined economy. And to have this happen and lives be taken, and they're being taken because we have Satan as the president of the United States. It's very, very sad what Christians and MAGAs have done. This is all of those a-holes out there in X world and Facebook world that are promoting ICE and defending this. Should all listen. This is a gut wrench. This is a full-on. You listen to it, your eyes water up, your breath is taken away. It's a man that abused women and children. And he was given a gun and justified in murdering a father with his 3-year-old daughter in the backseat of a car. And you saw one of those clips where the car is just starting to go around in the circles. There's nobody around the car. It's not fleeing. It's not driving away. It's at idle speed going in a circle. There's nobody around it. He jumped in front of the car to fire more shots, but Johan was already dead. My heart bleeds for this.
And this woman, this is an interview. She'd had time to sit down and to think about her thoughts. And this was not a gotcha impromptu thing, because she has absolutely nothing going for her in coming out with this information, because her ex-husband, who I'm presuming is still paying for their children, and she would like for him to keep his nice, expensive government job, I would think. You know what I mean? This is not her. This is not an ex-wife trying to dig it. She loses out if this, with her coming out and saying these things.
I don't even care what her motivation is. I know that this is a woman that's not ever been in front of a camera before.
Mm-hmm.
That felt a tug of responsibility
mm-hmm.
for the world, for her daughter, for herself, who wanted to make it absolutely clear that she knew this man
mm-hmm.
and that this man was abusive and had been abusive. I thought what she did was courageous.
Mm-hmm.
I admire her for being willing to do it.
Yeah. Hey,
and I would kick any MAGA to the curb who wants to go after her. They are reprehensible in their support of murderers. MAGAs is it's a degenerative disease that
mm-hmm.
attacks the moral system of a human being, rendering it obsolete.
Yeah. And we're not defending the other side of Marxism either. It is exactly religion and politics.
There's no hint of Marxism here. This was just a very clear depiction. This
mm-hmm.
is a man who his whole life has been vicious. He's been violent. He's mm-hmm. been abusive. And the U.S. government gave him a gun and put him in a position where he was encouraged to go shoot people. And he did. And he killed a man. And and there are many of them like that. And you can say, who do you want to blame? Do you want to blame ICE for hiring him without vetting his past? Do you want to blame Congress for funding ICE with the hundreds of millions of dollars? Do you want to blame the Department of Justice, who's had now 10 murders and they haven't prosecuted anybody, so they've held nobody accountable? Do you want to blame the President of the United States for creating a brown shirt private militia to scare his political enemies while he builds the Fourth Reich? You've got your choice. You can blame any one of them or all
mm-hmm.
of them.
Yeah. Two quotes come to mind. The first one is the buck stops here with Eisenhower. So, I'm putting the blame on Donald Trump. And then TJ, all it takes for tyranny to prevail is for good men to do nothing. Congress had the opportunity to put a stop to this. ICE itself had an opportunity to put a stop to this. Many people.
Congress is absolutely paralyzed with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump is the most fearsome man who has ever risen to power. He is more fearsome than Adolf Hitler, than Stalin, than Mao Zedong, than Genghis Khan. He's the most fearsome man who has ever lived. He's not fearsome because he's physically imposing. It's because of the demons and how much of a human cannibal he is. He is the Hannibal Lecter of politics. And it is because of the satanic nature of Trump that they are petrified. And so I'm not sure there are any good men and women in the U.S. Senate or in the Congress. I've met so many of them, and I never met a good one. But we know that on the Republican side, they're paralyzed. They're either hypnotized. There are some that are believe his shit, that are might as well be Satan worshipers, but most are paralyzed. And on the Democrat side, they are so lost in the make-believe world of Marxism that they can't produce a narrative in opposition to him, because their narrative always boils down to communism, Marxism being the alternative. And it's devil on one side, Satan on the other. Do you want the actual demon of Satan, or do you want man's most demonic nature? Is the choice that they're offering. And so it's just tragic what's happened to America. There's no solution for this. So we're not advocating a political remedy for this. There is no solution. There is no candidate that can save America. There's no solution to save America. There's no vote that's going to save America. This is the bigger tragedy still. This Abbas Arachi is a master of words. He is, I would say that he is on the level of Lavrov, the Secretary of State of Russia, in terms of his mastery of his craft. He's brilliant. And it bothers me because I know he's a Muslim, and I know he's representing an Islamic regime. And, I wrote the book on how Allah is Satan and Muhammad was the worst man who ever lived. And I prove it. And the book prior to that, Prophet of Doom, had the most positive effect on diminishing the influence of Islam in Iran than anything that's ever been done. And so I've got a lot of skin in this game. And so I have every reason to push back at the Islamic government of Iran, because I'm the foremost expert on Islam. If you don't think so, go to yahowah.com and read the 5 volumes. You can just listen to them. They'll talk to you of goddamn religion, 4,200 pages of absolute irrefutable proof that Islam is a death cult destined to produce genocide. So I know Islam better than anybody. And yet, in this case, Iran's the victim. The United States has attacked Iran twice. The United States is committing hellish war crimes, bombing civilian infrastructure, bridges, power plants. What Trump is doing is, quite frankly, insane. It's not just insane, it is immoral. It's to use the U.S. military this way, and for U.S. military flag officers to allow the military to be used this way is criminal. They need to be held accountable. And so in this particular case, I agree with his statement. Bridges can be rebuilt, but the opportunity to discipline the United States will not be repeated. What he's saying is that you're never going to have a peace agreement with us. We signed that memo of understanding with you, and this is what you did. And don't blame us. It was your fault. That agreement says that all traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is controlled by Iran, and you tried to bypass it by having ships go a different route without our authorization. You were the one who violated this agreement. And at this point, we'll never trust you. But we will hold you accountable. And they're in a position to cripple the world economically, food production, technologically, because of the lack of hydrogen that is and helium that are so needed. Helium in particular is so needed, but the urea and other potassiums and the like for fertilizers, production of aluminum, which has to be in a high energy environment to produce because it's so energy dependent to create, plus natural gas and oil. The world's already been crippled. People have already starved, and it's going to just get worse because Trump can't get out of the mess he made. And so the U.S. bases get destroyed. The Arab fiefdoms with flags that supported this petrodollar system are being destroyed. And ultimately, Israel is gloating right now and saying, that they're bombing everything in the Arab world and those fiefdoms where America's bases were, and they're not bombing us because we scared them and we threatened them and we bombed them so they wouldn't dare attack us again. No.
You're irrelevant.
You have been played, Israel. They checkmated you. And within a matter of years, they're going to march 3 to 4 million men into Israel. And they'll come in under the cover of Turkey. And there's nothing the IDF will be able to do to stop them. And they will wreak havoc. And Israel will be 1,000 times worse than Alaska flood on October 7th. They have a special treat open for you. And I've read all about it because it's in the book of Yeshaya, Isaiah, the book of Yoel, Joel. It's detailed in those books. Exactly who's going to perpetrate it, how they're going to do it, when it's going to occur. So your revenge is coming. Your not revenge, your retribution for what you've done, Israel. You made a horrendous mistake. In fact, as a government, you've done nothing but make mistakes, pounding your chest, thinking that you're the ultimate hegemon of the region. You become isolated, just as the prophet said, Isaiah said, you're eviscerated. You're vulnerable, you're eviscerated. And it happened exactly when the prophet said it was going to happen. You're in the midst of Israel's troubles. You've been checkmated. There is no hope for you. And as Yah said, just as there are many pebbles that have been cast out by the sea, there will only be a tiny remnant that is saved in the end. And they aren't saved because of the IDF. They aren't saved because of Israeli politics. They aren't saved because of the Haredi and Judaism. In fact, all of those things will be destroyed on that day. So that's a powerful message. This is one of the things that is most disturbing to me. Practitioners of Judaism saying that this man wearing the garb of the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox Jew, he's got his curly cues, he's got his black hat, he's in his morning clothes, and that he is being attacked by a Zionist. And so the idea of the Haredi is that Israel has no right to exist until their mythical Messiah arrives, and that they are somehow empowered. And so they need to sit around all day and read the Talmud to make this happen. And that those who are building the Israeli state are wrong. And they're hypocrites, of course, but so are so many others. They're parasites of that state. They exist because of handouts and exemptions of that state and the protection that state provides them, and the unique status that state provides them because they form a voting bloc that assures that Netanyahu, who plays them, gets to be prime minister. My reaction to this is I'm all in favor of the Zionists taking out the Haredi Jew. Please do it. The Zionist is a secularist, And they even acknowledge that in their statement here. So an a Jewish protester called the Jewish Voice wrote, Jews have been fighting against heretical, irreligious Zionism, demons for over 100 years. Zionists want to destroy Judaism and replace it with the anti-religious Zionist faith as a religion. My response, please. Absolutely. Let it be so. But spell it correctly. Zion is Yahweh's word. It means signs posted along the way. You want to be opposed to TSYOWN, the origin of the word. You're in opposition to the actual Messiah because he posted them. And to Yahweh, the one and only God. So, go ahead. My answer is absolutely, please. And the reason that the POS, that is the Haredi, is being dragged is he is not just a parasite. He is a obnoxious parasite that is in the way of the commerce of Israel that funds his indulgences. Him being the only reason he can be a parasite is because of the industry of Israel that he's trying to stymie by getting in the way. And he is being carried away by a man who's serving Israel when they won't serve anybody. And they won't even be like everybody else in Israel, subject to the draft into the IDF. So what this man with the gun is doing by dragging him away is a very productive thing. Throw away the trash. My preference is that they be dragged right into Gaza and dropped off there.
Right.
That's my preference. That's what I would do. That's what I would do with them. I think that the Haredi is the single most malevolent, useless, counterproductive piece of crap on the planet. I would say that they are far worse than the jihadi Muslim or the anti-Semite Christian. I think they're the worst of the worst. If you want to label him a Jew, you can have it. It's just more, and is there every single day. I play this and just see that this is Trump's brown shirts. This is Der Fuhrer's personal militia. This is who they are. This is what they do.
Get back, I'm shooting you. You're what?
Get back, I'll shoot you. Then he pulls his gun out. Get back or I'll shoot you.
Escalate in their lawlessness, in their violence, in their brutality against citizens and immigrants. And we have been warning that if they are not reined in, they were going to start murdering people in the street.
Hey, you can't do that.
This lawlessness and brutality is a direct result of the leadership from the top, from Trump, from Vance, from Homan, from Noem, from Stephen Miller. These agents were given tacit approval to be violent and to be brutal when none of them were held accountable for any of their crazy actions. And now they've been given explicit immunity from the vice president to be violent and brutal and to murder U.S. citizens. Any legitimate administration, any law-abiding law enforcement organization would have shut this down day one. But we're now living under a lawless regime, and these goons are going to continue to get more violent because they've been given permission from the very top to continue to be more violent.
Guess who celebrates lawlessness, violence, death? Satan. Guess who's president of the United States? Satan.
Yeah. That last one, just you have the interaction between the man and the woman, the man throwing the woman to the ground, and all of those people there are busy taking pictures, no one standing in between the man and the woman. So, dude, what are you doing? Let's, grabbing him, pulling him off, anything, it's.
And look what happened in all those
him.
previous shots where ICE was being belligerent, trying to pull somebody out of a car, trying to abuse somebody. And occasionally somebody would, like Preti in Minnesota, they would come. He came to the rescue of a little old lady that ICE was abusing. And they shot him, killed him. And here, each of these ICE agents to the person who's trying to intervene and say, calm down, let this person go. I mean, this what you're doing here is wrong. You're out of control. You're being violent and abusive. And in each case, the ICE agent pulled their gun and said, I'm going to shoot you. I will kill you.
Yeah.
It's gut wrenching. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a twist in MAGA and promoting this, you've lost your moral compass. You've lost your human card.
What do they say? I voted for this. That is the tagline.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They voted for this. Yeah.
Happy
They're
for them.
admitting complicity in terrorism, domestic terrorism. I'm here to tell you, I've seen thousands of pictures of jihadi Muslims. I've watched study the rise of Hitler's brown shirts. They weren't this bad. The brown shirts were nowhere close to this bad. And for the most part, jihadi Muslims can be. They're the bane of human existence.
Yep. This will continue until these ICE guys have to start thinking about their actions. They have to duck on the street.
No, I think it's just going to continue because Trump is Satan. He's going to continue through 2029 in the U.S. and then 2030 in January, he finally relocates to Israel. And I think he'll still have influence over the United States even at that time. So it's just going to continue. Now, the only way that ICE gets cut back is the way that Hitler handled it. Hitler had the brown shirts. They were actually funded by Americans, George Prescott and Herbert Walker. They were the ones who funded it from the proceeds of Union Bank, and they were a private militia for Hitler and the Nazis, and they did the things not nearly as bad. There are no films of them doing, and the Nazis filmed everything. There is nothing like what ICE is doing here. ICE is much worse than much worse than the brown shirts. But ultimately, the brown shirts were done in the night of the long knives when the military, particularly the SS, said they're out of control and it's us or them. You can't have both. We'll never trust you so long as they exist. And the night of the long knives, Rome and all of the senior leaders of the brown shirts were murdered by the military. And the same thing's going to happen with one day with ICE. The U.S. military is going to, not out of character, out of jealousy, out of insecurity, is going to want the domestic army eliminated because they don't want to work with them. They don't work within that chain of command. And the U.S. military is going to be deployed in America to go against Trump's political enemies. And they're not going to coexist together. And one's a lot larger than the other. And so it's going to be the night of the short gun or long knife once again. That's where this is going.
It continues to escalate, and there's some form of vigilante justice against ICE that happens, and then we start with National Guard being called in to quell this and to protect ICE as they do their job, and then the National Guard can't handle it because the amount of people, and the Army's called in. Absolutely, that'll be the boom, boom, boom.
That is where we're headed. Not we're headed. That's where the U.S. is headed. Now you're still in America. Good luck with that.
I am. I'm right in the middle.
Yep. Good luck with that. Reticent. I think I have 2 or 3 words of the day that are in my feed. I don't have much of a feed because Facebook was just stupid in the way that they're working. I mean, the Meta AI has to be. I mean, the Meta AI is far worse than any of the others. I have this experience with the Meta AI today, where yesterday I just got tired of receiving in my feed this claim that Assange had said, America, you think that Russia is your threat. Russia's no threat compared to the Jews and the Jewish lobby. They are the greatest threat to America. So I've always liked Assange. I thought that he showed some genuine courage when he exposed how evil the U.S. military was in Iraq and Iran. So I like that. I think we have a dog biting herself really bad. So I thought that what he did was noble, and so and my hope was that I wouldn't be reading that he actually said this. But so I searched for it, and what comes up immediately is that no, it's a complete hoax. There is not a single recorded conversation or written statement by Assange that says this or anything that's even remotely like it. It was actually said by a former CIA operative trying to condemn Israel as an anti-Semite, and it's been falsely attributed to Assange. So I decided I just put that at the top. I'd say, shame on the Meta AI and the X Grok for constantly putting this in my feed. It's revolting and it's untrue. And I wrote that it's untrue, and then I get a flag on the post and said this has been fact checked, and this post is disallowed.
Right. Post your fact check, huh? Yeah, it's like, whoa.
So, reticent, quiet, reserved, unwilling to reveal one's thoughts or feelings, reluctant to speak. And this is something the conspiratorial, the religious, and the political should adopt. Reticence. But that's not what we're seeing on X and Facebook. Stop it.
Reticent.
You're making a fool of yourself.
I don't think I've ever used it in a sentence. I know the word, but I don't think I've ever used it in a sentence.
Oh, I've used this one. Reticent. I like it. It's a very effective word. It's beautiful. This is Santorini. Been there a couple of times. The only reason I like Santorini is I do like that look of white and blue that is so beautiful on the side of that volcanic mountain, and the way that the center of the mountain was the cauldron of the volcano that exploded. And that volcano was so important because it was right around 2000 BCE, and it fundamentally changed the world. And it just had a huge effect on our on civilization and on the planet. And so you're there at a place that 4,000 years ago was so critical to the reshaping of the world and the resetting of the world, and you're very close to Israel. And look at that little dining area that overlooks the sea right there. I think we should make reservations. I think they probably have a number of bedrooms, and we should probably book it for sometime around our return. What do you think?
I'm in. I'll have my guy work on reservations for us. So
you may need your white. It'll give you a chance to wear your white pants. The white pants and the blue hat. It'd be just perfect for there.
Right.
You have occasion. Leah was thinking about you in advance.
Absolutely.
She got you all dressed up for Santorini.
Yes.
Mr.
That's a very white pants place. Yeah.
It is a white pants place.
I love the imagery. I'm just trying to figure out what these plants are. All of the same. I mean, because
the bougainvillea. They're my favorite plant.
Okay.
But they're bougainvillea. In fact, Leah brought me yesterday this arrangement of several different colors of bougainvillea that she put on my desk. That is absolutely stunning. Oh, I just love bougainvillea, and that's what that is.
They have thorns, don't they?
Well, they have them with and without thorns. There's the original variety, of course, has thorns. Most of ours do. If you live in a place that has more options than we have here, there are thornless varieties. My favorite is raspberry ice, which you very seldom see, but raspberry ice bougainvillea is my favorite. But there's no such thing as bad bougainvillea. It's wonderful.
Build back better. I like it.
Yeah, build it back better. This is the palace, the home of King Dowd in Jerusalem. It's at the end of Zion, and the signs are posted up towards the Temple Mount from there. I think that Dowd would come back and see it in this condition. He'd be a little disappointed, but we'll have mind over matter, and I think we build it back better. I think we can give him the view of views, clear it all out, and make it absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I want to be involved in the architecture of it. I mean, because it's going to be his plan. Happy to help, happy to in any way necessary. But I mean, it's your place. It should be what you want it to be. I'm not going to say that I want to be the one that builds back for him.
I'm enough of a busybody, and we have such a good relationship. I might go to him and say, all right, let me show you some things that I've done in the past, or that you might like, and Leah would do the same thing, and we may do a show and tell and say, what do you think about these ideas, and we'll get her done for you. You pick the. Here's our recommendations on floor plans and elevations and grand vistas and patios and the like, and internal home layout and furnishings. This is what we'd recommend, and how would you like to modify this for your lifestyle? And I said you'd have to have a mother-in-law quarter someplace in it when we come to visit. But
mother-in-law what?
Actually, it wouldn't be the mother-in-law; it'd be a mom quarter, mom
with
quarter for
kitchen.
mom and dad. Yeah, and at some place. But we'll build it for you. And so, I don't see Dowd wanting to do as much as just exemplify what it is to be the firstborn of God, to be the man who manned up and fulfilled Pesach Matzah Bakodim, who is now prepared to be the very exemplar of the covenant, and to enjoy his kingdom and relate to those in his kingdom. And I think that he wants to spend time in them. And I think we actually take a step back at this time. We if he gets himself in a pickle or begins to maybe lose track of what's right, we'll go and do a consult. But I think for the most part, he's going to want to engage with the people and help them and be just the ultimate king, interacting with them. And we'll do things like this in the background. So I can see a role. I like this too. It's a remodel project. It's quite the remodel project, but I really like remodel projects. Had a lot of practice at it. Qui vivra vera. Time will tell. Now I will tell you for certain that I'm going to use that someplace in this current book that I'm writing, because it is kind of the essence of what we're learning, that there's a time to tell, and there's a time to learn. There's a time for all of these things, and over the last 2,500 years hasn't been that time. Now is that time, and it's like the Yahowah 10 that I'm dealing with, and the rediscovery of Yahowah 11, two of the most important prophecies ever written, and they're the same prophecy. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I first translated that, I was not in a position to understand it. Now I am. Time will tell. And I was telling the guys today that, I've over this past quarter century, I've made more profoundly important revelations, insights, and conclusions than anybody ever pursuant to God. more than all of the God's prophets combined. Thousands upon thousands of them. And you are put in a position where you're saying things that you know are going to make you a target, because there's so many of them. And they say, just say that there are 5 characters in God's story that have been deployed multiple times, some as many as 8 times. And what their purpose is so electrifying. To say that Dowd is the savior who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Makotam, and he was the one who was crucified by the Romans, is so electrifying because it means there was no Jesus, that Jesus is nothing but a counterfeit. You're making so many claims like this, and because there are so many affirmations of them, and of course I know them to be true, but for those who don't, time will tell. It all plays out over the next 7 years, as Yahowah has foretold. Time will tell. Qui vivra, vera, with the last word being verify. Now, this is a word that I just think is delicious, and I treasure words, and I was unaware of this one. Have you ever used sedulous?
Sedulous? No,
yeah, sedulous,
no.
I guess would be the, there it is. They tell you, sedulous is the proper pronunciation. Sedulous. What's, of course, is interesting, it's sed, which would be SED, but then ja. How did you get the ja out of UL?
Mm-hmm. DJ,
said Jew.
Said,
and then,
mm-hmm.
But what is the, where is the J sound in sedulous?
Right, yeah. I would have, without the phonetic, I would have said sedulous. Sedulous.
Yeah, sedulous is the way I pronounced it. And they want it to be said ja-less. But interesting, nevertheless, the only worry about writing it is that I'll end up doing a show where I have to pronounce it. And I have the Moshe answer, God, I have a thick tongue. You should find somebody else. And God says, well, who do you think made the tongue? Do you think I can make it work the way I need it to work? And God always wins those arguments. I could have told Moshe, I probably did tell him. It was really dumb to try to, jaw with the big guy. Yeah, he's always going to win. But nevertheless, diligent, hardworking, persistent. It's kind of like the Hebrew, and careful attention. It's very much like the Hebrew term that Yahowah now has turned into a title, that he worked all the way through the Ruth and Boaz story and is now interwoven into the Choder story, which is Kala.
Mm-hmm.
Kala and sedulous, the same term, except I like Kala better, but they're synonyms.
I'll work up a sedulous graphic so we can, whenever you do get to use it, we can pop it on the screen.
Pop it up, sedulous. Yeah, sedulous. Okay. And time will tell. And from Latin, I think that's good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's French. I'm not going to do any Latin.
Was it French? Oh, it was French, not Latin. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. John Solomon. Yeah. You could play this one here. John is the conspiracy theorist who is sometimes miscast as a reporter. He has been completely disowned by every institution he worked for as a reporter. And he was hired by Trump at taxpayer expense to accumulate a conspiracy theory for fraud on the 2020 elections. And here he is now after the president's speech, and he's caught out lecturing the White House. He said, "Oh yeah, okay, well, we don't have any actual proof of that. No, I don't have any evidence of that either." So I asked, if there was any intelligence showing that Trump actually won. He said, "No, not yet. I haven't made it yet. We'll work on that later."
We're fabricating it.
We're fabricating that as we speak.
Right.
But here's my folder, and so this is the creep that created the conspiracy theory and this is like his 12th one. He is one of the most frequent guests on Hannity. Of course, Hannity is the devil's advocate. He is Mr. Trump's personal caddy when it comes to delivering Trump's message. So he has, I think it was like 70 times that John Solomon has been a guest on Hannity to promote Trump lies. He was huge into the trying to debunk the Trump lie of Russian influence. You know, they still want to believe there was Russian influence, and of course, their theory on Russian influence is the Russian influenced the elections by buying ads on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
If buying ads on Facebook influences your election, because the people that are so stupid that they were going to respond to a Facebook ad, then you don't even need to have elections. You might as well just toss it in, because people are so ill-equipped, so ignorant, so irrational that they're going to be moved by a picture graphic on Facebook. Just pack it in. There's no reason for anybody to cheat. You don't have anybody smart enough to figure anything out.
Yeah.
And so that was their whole claim to fame on that. But John Solomon, he is the Mr. Conspiracy. He is Mr. Fox personality of promoting the Trump's lies on elections. So you can play it.
Did you acknowledge that there were no votes changed in 2020?
All I can acknowledge is what the intelligence shows, right? I only know the intelligence community has zero evidence that someone has flipped that a foreign power flipped a vote in 2020, 22, or 24.
And you have you're able to
We're not through all the documents.
You're able to acknowledge that Venezuela has not tampered with voting machines in the United States.
No, the intelligence is very clear. They did it on their own machine. Why is it important that they did it on their machines? Their machine protocols are the same as America. Why? Because for a long time they did exactly.
And so the 2020 election was in fact the results as the American public.
I'm still researching, so let me. This is the first.
But there's no intelligence.
Not yet.
He's gotta go.
There is no intelligence that the election would have said that Donald Trump was.
Run, John, run! Run, John, run! See John, run! Dick and Jane, see John, run! Ask John questions, see John, run! But at least he said no, not a single vote was miscast. So Trump's big announcement on China stealing the election from him, not a single vote was changed, not one. Did the theory of the Venezuelans corrupting the U.S. voting machines? No, there's no evidence that happened either. So the election is as the election was, and the results are accurate. I gotta leave now.
Yeah. Oh no! He was drug away. He was walking backwards. He was loving the attention. He wanted to keep talking.
Yeah, it's probably true. It was probably true. It was
she was like, "Okay, we're done
blonde,
here, guys."
Yeah, one of Trump's blonde handlers, a member of the Eva Braun Corps that was dragging him away. Yes, he has quite the Eva Braun Corps. Hitler preferred brunettes. Trump's got a thing for blondes. Oh, this is so sick. So he has a a national televised speech, which he had a conniption fit on. I mean, it was a shit show. And he produced, as you just heard, zero evidence that there was a single vote that was misrepresented, not one. And yet, this is the president himself directing officials in Georgia to misrepresent 11,000 votes. So was there a election fraud? Absolutely. Trump did it.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. There's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
I just want to.
There's nothing wrong with saying you recalculated to give me 11,000 votes. Not that there was a recalculation done, But nothing wrong with saying that you recalculated to get me 11,000 votes. Had that case come to trial, had Trump not been elected president based upon Elon Musk's $300 million of spending in the swing states to fool people, to electing him president as opposed to sending him to jail, Trump would be bankrupt and he would be wearing an orange suit today. It would match his complexion, might even clash with his complexion, but Orange Man would be in an orange suit today in prison had it not been for Elon Musk stealing the election with $300 million spent at the end. This is a very, very serious felony. And to have the man do that gave that speech last night, you can all go to hell, MAGA. Twistian MAGAs, you are revolting. Yes, Trump is Satan. I get that. But what's your excuse, MAGA?
Yeah, we talked a little bit before the show. My takeaway from last night was that he's going to have the most fair and watched elections in history during the midterms, that he's going to be putting in the DOJ, the FBI, and he's going to throw as many, absolutely, as many federal organizations at local elections, because all elections are local, as he possibly can.
Well, you're right and you're wrong. You said it'd be the most watched. No. Trump does everything in secret. The Justice Department of the United States now is not transparent on anything. Like, look at the Epstein files. They're all about hiding the evidence. That's all they want to do is hide the evidence. The FBI is, why did the FBI go to Lindsey Graham's house with evidence bags? They're about confiscating the evidence. The DOJ won't prosecute or even give local governments access to the murderers of ICE. And the DOJ is literally altering and redacting and destroying and not publishing, even under congressional order, the Epstein files. So, no, the U.S. is not going to make those elections more visible than any other. They're going to put the full power of the Trump regime against malfeasance and covering it up. So there's no accountability. But the purpose of last night's speech was twofold. One, to give Satan the illusion that he hadn't lost. Having lost that election was so hard on Trump's ego because he knew that with all the shit that he had done, that he was going to jail. And that's when he made a deal with the devil. And so it is essential to his mentality, his psyche, to justify that he did not lose, that he really won that election. And of course, he produced not a shred of evidence to make that claim, none, which John Solomon affirmed. And that it's been investigated every which way by the U.S. government itself, and they found none. So it was to create the illusion in Trump's mind that he could continue to promote, I didn't lose the election, I beat Biden. That's what he presents all the time. And it's untrue. The second reason is he knows he's going to get his clock cleaned and in the midterms. And he knows that he is not leaving the White House and he's going to violate the U.S. Constitution, even have Lindsey Graham holding out, Trump 48, that he's going to run again. But he knows that with a 37% popularity rating, he has zero chance of prevailing. So all you can do is call off elections, say we're not going to have elections because of elections fraud. So he's setting up the midterms and then the next presidential election to be disqualified under this false theory of foreign involvement. My hope is that China sues him. That's my hope. And my hope is that China sues him in the United States. They will play in your courts. You claim that we did this, then show us the evidence in a court of law. Make it public. We'll show up. We'll defend ourselves, but you need to prove it in a court of law. Put up or shut up. That's what I would do if I were China.
Yeah. Bring your evidence. I'm here.
Yeah. Claudia Steinbaum is a communist, Jewish president of Mexico. Unfortunately, she is a Jewish anti-Semite. A lot of them around. Bernie Sanders is amongst the most famous of them, but there are many of them. She makes some statements that are intelligent. This one is. She says the United States would not be what it is today without the 40 million Mexican men and women who work there. And I would tell you, and it's already been shown because it's totally hypocritical of Trump, because he wants the farmer vote and he wants the people that own hotels and restaurants to continue to vote for him, and he doesn't want his base to react against him. But when Trump first pulled the ICE stunt, and they went after fields where crops were being harvested, and they went after hotels where beds were being changed, and they went after restaurants where tables were being cleared, and no one showed up. The crops just rotted in the field, and the hotels had to shut down, and so did the restaurants. So Trump decided, well, undocumented workers are fine in those places. Then he started going after them in construction. Mm-hmm. And in construction, that'll shut down too. So if Hispanics were to be exported or just left, there would be no harvests. There'd be no restaurants. There'd be no functioning hotels. There'd be no sanitation. There'd be no construction. There'd be no repairs. There would be no housekeepers. In California, Texas, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and elsewhere. Those are the facts. Gen Z and the millennials don't do those jobs. They have no interest in those jobs. Those jobs need to be done. And so unless, MAGA, you're going to go out there and break your back harvesting strawberries, picking melons, there aren't going to be any. Unless you're willing to go in there and change the beds in hotels, there won't be any hotels. Unless you're willing to go in there and bust the dishes at the table, there won't be any restaurants. Unless you're willing to go and do physical labor and build and repair, there won't be any of that either. This is a travesty that is being perpetrated on America. So here's another post. This was a post at X that I reposted here. And so you've got some, look like white colonialists in their fancy. One guy's even got your white pants there. You may want to sue him for
There's a couple of them in white pants.
Yeah, a couple of them in white pants there. This man under an account that says that he is an African account on X, he posted, "Slavery and colonization are humanity's most heinous crimes." My response: colonialization and slavery define every civilization throughout history worldwide, where slavery and conquest are ubiquitous. That is a statement of fact. They define. They aren't the most heinous crime. They are the essence of every civilization, everywhere throughout recorded history, including Africa. There would be no civilization without colonialization or slavery. Slavery and colonization are as old as time because they are generic to human nature. God said it best when he regretted creating humans with an Osama conscience. What God says is because when they become many, they become evil every day and every moment throughout time. What you are watching here is the degradation of human nature. That is what you're watching. Colonization is wrong. Slavery is wrong. But it is one of the most deeply seated aspects of human nature. I'm sorry, Wookie, I drank most of your tea, so yeah, I know. I'm a meanie, but he wasn't here. He was up there with Leia, as was Kara. So I'm sorry, Wook. Anyway, that's my take on it. I've studied human history, and what I have come to find is that throughout time, I appreciate the look here. I'll try to rise above the Wook. The Wook really has a very fine tail, though, as you can see. But nevertheless, thank you, Wook. That's yours. You can have it. Well, why don't you just go ahead and pour it in? Give Wook. Wook likes his tea cold and the glass full. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Wook. All right. So if you study human history, what you find is that the story of collectivized man, civilized man, men and women living together in large communities and nations, is that we go from having the potential for good or bad individually to being universally evil collectively. This is just who man is, why God regretted creating us. And I don't think there is a solution for that other than the reboot that God intends 7 years from now. I think it is the only solution for it. And by the way, there was a reboot a little over 4,500 years ago with Noach. Noach saved Nasalma man. I can't see you now anymore, Kevin. You're behind the dog, but you're free to comment or go to the next slide, which I won't be able to see until Wookie lays down here. All right, so the White House billed President Donald Trump's address to the nation as presenting new information on the nation's election security. But there was almost nothing the public had not heard or seen before, and all of it had been discredited. Instead, what we got is a rambling and disjointed speech from an aging president that was best summarized by the Trump line from his only debate with Joe Biden in 2024. I really don't know what he said. And I don't think he knows what he said either.
That was a nice turnabout. Absolutely.
After speeding through his stump speech, Trump dove deep into gutter politics. He claimed that China engaged in a years-long effort to meddle in the U.S. Elections, including the 2020 elections. He also alleged a deep state conspiracy involving intelligence agencies to conceal Beijing's interference. And here's the facts. There isn't any evidence of any kind that the Chinese engaged in the 2020 elections. None. Or that a single vote was shifted by Chinese involvement. There's none of either. Literally none. Nor is there any evidence of a CIA cover-up of Chinese malfeasance, because in fact the CIA and every government agency that investigated the 2020 elections said there's no evidence for it. And there still isn't. And he didn't present any the other way. You know, he highlighted a fraudulent effort to register voters in Michigan. But he forgot to mention that effort was caught before the election. And so he made hysterical claims about foreigners and dead people voting. But that mule argument, the video that was done on it was discredited, and the maker of the video had to pull it and apologize. So Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said that the speech would be shocking. She got that part right, but not in the way she meant. While the president's goal may have been to destroy the faith in American elections, it may have succeeded in destroying whatever faith people had in their president. You can, there's another one I'll read more of, but this pretty much takes care of that one. It's available on my Facebook page. You can go to the media page of yadayah.com, click on the Yada's vlog on the vlog, and you'll find this, and you can read the whole thing if you're interested in more of it. We'll there's another one here that I think is even a better summary of it. Mr. Babylon. Trump, who spoke from the White House on Thursday, has repeatedly made unsubstantiated claims about voter fraud and foreign meddling in the 2020 elections, which, of course, he lost to Joe Biden. In the half-hour speech, which began by him claiming that he inherited the worst inflation in 40-some-odd years, which was untrue, and that he has made America the hottest country in the world. Well, it's going to be nuclear pretty soon, so maybe you got that part right.
Pretty warm.
Yeah, just a bunch of braggadocious, satanic kind of boasts. Delivered 3 months before the midterm election, said that he had declassified hundreds of intelligence files which supported his claims that Beijing had tried to sway the elections in Biden's favor. Of course, the man that put together that collection said there is no evidence, and so he is still trying to create some. He had just heard from him, trying to create some. Doesn't exist. The U.S. intelligence community has previously concluded that China did not interfere in the 2020 election. In response to his speech, China's foreign ministry strongly denied the allegations of Chinese meddling in the 2020 elections, saying that they were entirely fabricated. Trump's claims are malicious smears, which have long proven to be groundless, Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Zhang said. Trump spoke in front of several members of his top team as he gave, this is the other clowns in the circus, as he gave his address, but journalists were, guess what? Unable to put questions to the president. Because if they asked him, what proof do you have? But if they tell me it's true. In his remarks, he accused China of illicit acquisition of 220 million voter files, including personal information. That would be 100% of American voter files. I'd be surprised if you asked the federal government to produce information and proof of 220 million voters, that the U.S. government could come up with half that number. Trump did not in his speech present any evidence that China used the information he claims that they took to alter voting systems to influence the election outcomes. And in fact, John Solomon said, no, they didn't. Hundreds of pages of intelligence documents were released by the White House during Trump's address, many of them heavily redacted. So I'm going to give you the page. I just don't mind the black lines. It's going to be, kind of like a black page that will, every 25th word you'll be able to read. No problem.
Yeah. China stole election for Joe Biden. That's what, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Says so right here. Don't mind all the other black.
Right here. Oh, my. The president's comments contradict previous U.S. intelligence assessments. A 2021 report by the U.S. National Intelligence Council said that it had high confidence that China did not interfere in the 2020 presidential election. We assessed that China did not deploy interference efforts and considered but did not deploy influence efforts intended to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election, the report concluded. It said that this was probably because, so they're speculating here, but this said that it was probably because China did not view either election outcome as being advantageous for China and to risk the blowback of being caught. Why don't you just leave it at the first part? There was no motivation for China to have done so, which is what I wrote yesterday. Trump delivered the White House address after the release of a new poll from the Washington Post. This is the Ipsos poll, which indicated his approval rating had dropped to 37%, which is nothing but the most diehard, faithful Christian MAGAs, with many voters pessimistic about the cost of living in the ongoing war with Iran. Elsewhere in the speech, the president alleged that U.S. voting machines are extremely exposed to interference by foreign adversaries, including Russia, China, and Iran. And yet there is zero evidence that China, Russia, or Iran had anything to do with those voting machines.
Mm-hmm.
And when Tucker Carlson made that the mainstay of his presentation on Fox, what did Fox
Lost
lose?
his job.
Yeah, and it was $1 billion or so suit that Fox had to cough up billions of dollars because it was proved by the manufacturer of those machines that what Tucker Carlson said was not only a lie, but Tucker Carlson knew it was a lie when he made the lie, and so he was fired. So no, we've been through that before. It's actually been a court case, and it has been determined. So elsewhere in the speech, the president alleged the U.S. voting machines. So I've read that. So shortcomings of U.S. election infrastructure have been well documented. Some were addressed after the 26th election, which Trump won. So Trump said that nobody, of course, manipulated the one that he won, but they all got busy manipulating the one that he lost. After U.S. intelligence community, so the one that he won, the U.S. intelligence community did find international interference. So the one he won, yes, there was, and they came out and said, "Yeah, we found Russia doing it." Those, what the Ruskies did? They bought Facebook ads. Oh my, they bought Facebook. And I remember the ads that were attributed to Russia. By the way, and they're not sponsored by the Russian government; they were just individuals in Russia. And of course, you can buy Facebook ads. They had pictures of pretend Jesus arm wrestling with pretend Satan. And suggesting that Trump was on the side of pretend Jesus, and that you needed to vote to defeat pretend Satan, who was representing the Democrats. That's the kind of ad appeal that was attributed to the accounts that were Russian in nature. And so my response at the time was, if American voters are so ignorant, so immoral, so incapable of thinking, that they're getting their news from social media and think that a post like this is trustworthy, then there is no hope for the elections anyway. Why even bother to hold them?
Right.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Why would it change anybody's mind?
Why would it? Yes. And so here's Mr. Babylon. He is the man who is all things to all religions. He signs some of his posts in the name of Allah. He pretends that he is the savior of Israel. Not pretends, he said that he is. He claims that the Christian God thinks he's doing a wonderful job. He is Mr. Babylon, the man that commingles truth and lies to confuse and to confound. And that's why we have the song, Mr. Babylon. In fact, it might be a good way to conclude our program. Do you have one of them that we can queue up? Either I love, my favorite is Star Spangled Cosplay, but I like Mr. Babylon too. Either one of the two that comes up for you would be wonderful. And while you're doing that, maybe you can find for me just the next slide, and I'll talk about the next slide while you're finding the song to play.
I got cosplay. We're ready whenever you are.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we gotta have Pete here. Gotta end on Pete. Yeah.
Well, Pete. Yeah. Pete here is saying the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. So if you don't start there, you're gonna miss. Well, that was a miss, Pete, because there is no Lord. It's Yahowah, and the Christian myth that you're speaking of never existed. And because he wrote nothing down and said nothing that would be stimulating intellectually, he can't be the beginning of all wisdom. You want to go to wisdom? Read the wisdom letters that were comprised in the word pictures, the Mashal, or consider the wisdom of Dowd in the Mizmor, or consider the wisdom of Yahowah in the Towrah, or for giggles, just try to translate something that Yashaya wrote and then contemplate it because his intellect is just way beyond most of the rest of ours. So no, Pete, and you happen to be dumb as the average alcoholic on a bender. That was a swing and a miss there. By the way, this next one here is just interesting. We'll go to this next one just out of curiosity. Trump said that he had the last conversation with Lindsey Graham, who was the devil's advocate, and he says it was in the sevens. You know that by 8:25 he was in full cardiac arrest.
Wow.
He said it was in the sevens. So something, he says they talked about the Save America Act. Of course, the one person that spoke to his handler, because he called his handler to call 911. She was watching a soccer match in a local restaurant and sent over the emergency response team. And by the time they got there, he was in full cardiac arrest. So there was nothing he could do. But that was about 8:25 in the evening. And so Trump wants you to believe that, and by the way, he said that he talked to him about he wanted to continue his sanctions on Russia, arm or Ukrainians more to go kill some more Russians, blow up more of Iran. He was focused on all of his death kind of stuff. Never mentioned the Save America Act. And of course, Trump, being an opportunistic guy, said, "Oh, we talked about the Save America Act," but at the time, he would have been experiencing all of the symptoms of this aorta tear. The aorta tear doesn't just go from nothing to being full rupture in 1 second, and it built up on him because he allegedly said, "I can't go now. I can't pass away now because I have to do all of these things that were so warmongering," and so he knew this was coming sometime around 8 o'clock. And Trump says that he talked with him in the sevens. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So let's play Mr. Babylon or Star Spangled Cosplay.
No. Yeah, we got Mr. Babylon. I found it. So yeah, here we go. Are we going to play the show out? Are we coming back? What are we doing?
Let's play the show out.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did it do ba do ba 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 da cup sup sup ay 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 oh. Oh Babylon, yeah. Did it do ba do ba do ba do ba da cup sup sup. Ay 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 oh. Oh Babylon, you bitch holding them down in the ditch. Yahowah's children, you turn to pitch. Your feast, your scribes, your priests, your imams, your rabbi, they do lie. Getting high on that narcissistic supply. Stop your wars and you Capricorn. Come on, well. Babylon cause all the problems. They make the wars, but you don't know how to solve them. Oh no, you don't, no. Liars make all them trouble. Oh, they make the wars make you look. No, but don't know how to solve them. Oh no, yeah. No. Oh yeah, you got your devils to fly overhead and drop your bombs upon the innocent. Well, that stuff he says, oh Babylon, let me tell you, Mr. Babylon, war is not our solution. We want you in dissolution. War and strife is not the solution. Never was, never will be. So Mr. Babylon, the copper can up yours. Babylon cause all them troubles. Oh yeah, how are you told us? Oh yes you did. They make the wars, they make them deals with those are hater. They gonna ravage her, that's cat Babylon. Oh yeah. Oh Babylon, you be doom. Systems make all the problems. Chewing up them innocent to their problems. They got no solution. They bury their minds in some new potion. Them pray to a God that cannot save them all going down. nation never was, never will be so. Global sheriff mashing down the earth with your iron fist, you the clown. Global sheriff messing round, killing his own, taking bribes, grabbing kitty and coming with a fool's philosophy. You think that war gonna bring you peace prize? Why don't you just steal one? Let me tell you now, oh Mr. Babylon, blood dripping down your hair now, blood dripping down your collar now, blood running down your hands, blood running down your streets. Babylon cause all them troubles. Oh yeah, how are you told us? So yes you did. They make the wars, they make them deals with those that hate her. They're gonna ravage her, that's cat Babylon. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh Babylon, you be doom, 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 doom. Babylon a cause all the problems. They make them hearts fly those drums. Babylon a cause all the problems, but them don't know how to solve them. Hey, oh yeah, yeah. Babylon make all them trouble, suffering the unthinking masses. To their problems they got no solution. No, 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 no. Oh yeah, Babylon a cause all the problems. Yeah, 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 yeah. Stop the children are making more wars. Hey warmonger, stop your war. You gonna kill us all. Oh yeah. Oh no 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 no. Yeah 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 yeah.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.